morning and welcome. You're on to Aspheric TV and this is the morning newspaper briefing. My name is Double Gifts. On this show, we bring you front pages of various Nigerian dailies and we get to discuss them with our analysts. I'll start off with the Punch newspaper. It says here, anti-drug war. FG freezes 600 accounts, seizes 249 luxury vehicles. NDLEA confiscates $1.3 million, £102,000, 14 million CFA, 252 million naira drug proceeds. Court orders, interim for feature of billionaire Ukatu's 25 property factory. Don't buy drugs for youths. Agency warns politicians ahead of campaigns. Nigeria, Poland plan closer ties, ink agric deal. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency seized no fewer than 286 assets and 600 bank accounts of drug barons between January 2021 and August 2022. NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi, who disclosed this in a document made available to one of our correspondents on Tuesday, said the assets consisted of 249 exotic cars and 37 mansions. The next paper is the Guardian newspaper, and it says here, FG to revisit no work, no pay as VCs push to end strike. UK expectations high as trust takes over. The next paper is the This Day newspaper, and it says here, ASUU strike. FG will not sign agreements it cannot implement, says Minister. Government reiterates offer to include 200 billion naira in 2023 budget for Varsity's revitalization, outstanding arrears. Says it can only afford 23.5% salary increase. Against the background of the ongoing face-off with the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU over alleged government failure to fulfill agreements reached with the union, the federal government has said it will not sign any other agreement it cannot implement. Minister of Education Malam Adamu disclosed this yesterday in Abuja during a meeting of pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors of federal universities held at the National Universities Commission, NUC. The Nation newspaper, it says here, ASUU, government raises 14-man panel to resolve knotty issues. 23.5% pay rise for teachers likely. Return to classroom, Bishop urges teachers. Also, Nigeria gets 23 slots as Google lifts 60 African startups with $4 million. Tinubu donates 50 million naira to Jigawa flood victims. Also on the Nation newspaper, Ogun Speaker, 2 others arraigned over 2.4 billion naira fraud. Nigeria, Poland sign pact on agriculture. The Daily Trust newspaper, it says here, FG offers professors 35% pay rise, other varsity workers 23.5%. To release 200 billion naira next year for revitalization, earned allowances. Raises new committee to discuss no work, no pay policy. Keep your salary increments, implements agreements, ASUU. Buhari warns government officials against signing unimplementable pacts again. New British Prime Minister Liz Truss assumes office. Also, 2023, Wike's reluctance delays constitution of Atiku's campaign council. Over 2 million SMEs collapsed in 2 years, SMEDAN. Customs seizes explosive making chemical military uniforms in Ogun State. Those are the newspaper headlines we have. I'll go on a short break. When I return, I'll introduce my guest and we'll be discussing some of these headlines. Please stay with us. Welcome back. I have my guest with me in the studio, and he is Mr. CB Clifford. Good morning.
Good morning, Gift. How are you?
I'm fine. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So, the headline I found most interesting was the ASUU-related headline that said the federal government has offered to pay professors. Okay, they've agreed to increase their salary by 35%, and then for other varsity workers by 23.5%. But interestingly, ASUU has said they are not interested in this increment of salaries. Instead, they want the federal government to implement its earlier agreements from many years ago instead of this increment. What are your thoughts on this?
Would it be that the federal government is trying to bribe the top members of the union, being the professors, to come to agreement with them? But personally, I feel it is very easy for government to implement these agreements if they really want to implement the agreement, because I mean there are so much to benefit if our schools run normally. A youth that's supposed to spend 4 years in school spends just 4 years in school and comes out. Because these incessant strikes really affect the students. Some of them do not go back to school after the strikes. You understand? Because these are some of the things they should look at. It's not just about the increment of professors' salaries. What about the ordinary Nigerians that are students in these universities? So government should look at implementing the earlier agreement it had with ASUU. I mean, teachers are not people government is not supposed to treat very well. They are nation builders as far as I'm concerned. So anything that's related to teachers, health workers, security operatives should be on the top priority of every sensible government.
Basically, that is what makes or mars the country.
Of course.
I agree with you on that. Also, the government has raised a 14-man panel to discuss basically the no work, no pay policy, to implement it, kind of. And left to me, I think that is just going to, like, should I say, further aggravate the situation.
The issues, yes, exactly, because these people belong to a recognized union by law, and the union is on strike because of their rift with the federal government. So if you don't look at addressing the issues, instead of addressing the issues, you're creating more problems. It would not in any way solve the issues between government and
the ASUU.
How do you want the lecturers now to survive? How do you want them to pay their bills? How do you want them to take care of their families? And some of them even have health issues. How do you want them to foot all those bills?
And I feel like rather than raising panels to discuss things like that, discuss the issues at hand
and solve them.
Exactly.
Yes, that's what
I think that is what should be done, rather than all of this increments and all of that. The increment is a good thing.
The government always have misplaced priorities. You understand? Misplaced priorities. I'm not saying increasing the salaries of professors is bad, but address the issues that has led to the ASUU strike once and for all. I mean, it doesn't cost anything as far as I'm concerned.
Alright, yesterday the president of Poland visited Nigeria, and then in the papers today we see that they signed an agreement, kind of like a pact on agriculture. I see this as a good one, because our economy has been dwindling for a while, and then should I say mergers and partnerships like this is a good one.
Yes, I believe agriculture is one way every progressive government should go, because basically you cannot keep this nation without food. You understand? And if we have international collaborations like this, it would also support indigenous business owners who might be able to key in from these policies. I do not really know what the details of these pacts are, but I feel it's for the better, if only the government sticks to agreements. Because Nigerian government is fond of doing all this agriculture. If you remember, in the last administration, the President Goodluck Ebele-led administration came up. They said it was cassava bread and all that. They spent billions of naira. They're going to export all that. But today, that project is nowhere to be found. So it's all about sustainability, not just starting up a policy that you cannot really implement and sustain. But it's a good one.
Also, on the Punch newspaper, a small headline here says, fuel scarcity hits Abuja as marketers short stations. I think this is like an off and on issue.
Yes, fuel scarcity in Abuja is like a very recurrent issue. So I really do not know why there should be fuel scarcity in Nigeria. Well, I think if we have more refineries.
I think this particular one is attributed to marketers shutting
down their stations.
But what's the reason for the shutdown of these stations?
Well, I may not really know. I'm just hearing for the first
Probably
time.
From the main suppliers. The issue might be coming from there.
This country is always having shortcuts for everything. If there is petroleum price regulation, operation regulation of all these stations, you don't just wake up in a sane country and shut down your station for no reason. Well, it's a personal business, I suppose, so you can't hold anything against them, but they are causing stress to the citizenry. So it's not advisable, because you start seeing queues after work, you don't get cars, and it will also put
even prices of transportation go up.
Put the lives of commuters at risk, because some of them will stand at some point and stay very late before they get cars.
True. Another interesting headline here was the NDLEA at work, and then we've seen that they seized about 286 assets and 600 bank accounts of drug barons, that is between January 2021 and August 2022. And this was disclosed in the documents by the spokesman of the NDLEA. And I think this should be, should I say, applauded.
Applaudable. Agencies like the NDLEA should be really given some kudos, because their war against drug abuse and narcotics would really keep the country in a better light, because I mean the rate of youths in our country that abuse drugs these days is alarming. You see some of them, they don't have a life anymore, you know, and there are people who benefit from making other people's life useless. So government should do all it can, equip the officers of the NDLEA with all they need, including computerized gadgets and all that. If possible, put in more manpower in the force to be able to combat drugs in this country, because I mean a lot of youths, like I said, are going down because of the use of drugs.
The agency has also warned politicians ahead of campaigns to not buy drugs for youths, because it seems instead of money, there are some youths that
demand for drugs.
Exactly. It's just as you have just said, it has gotten very bad.
Yes.
And then
another thing is sometimes there are bad eggs in this NDLEA that will seize drugs from someone else and resell back to the society. It happens. They don't destroy most of these things. Some of them, maybe you see a video of them setting something ablaze. It could just be like a half portion of it. The rest of them, as I can tell you, goes back to the society.
Which means the agency needs to check itself.
Yes, itself. They need to do proper scrutiny among the agencies who engage in some of these things, because you won't tell me that people bring in drugs into this country in and out without the check of these officers at every port. I have traveled through the borders over time. You see, with just 1,000 naira, the NDLEA officer lets you pass.
Without checking or
without checking
searching.
to know what you have in your vehicle. With just that 1,000 naira, you could import loads of Indian hemp, loads of other drugs into the country. These other things should be checked.
Sad one. I think the agency needs to check
Yes,
itself
they know this
and get rid of
They
people
know
like
it
that.
happens. Yes, they know.
All right, those are the headlines we'll be discussing this morning. Thanks for joining us. My name is Double Gift, and I've had Mr. and CB Clifford with me.
Thank you.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Aspheric TV on YouTube, and also follow us on all of our social media platforms. On Instagram and Twitter, we are Aspheric News, and on Facebook, we are Official Aspheric News. Thanks for watching. Bye.